The first dinosaur lesson was dinosaurs in the Bible. And we focused on the word dragon and how it's found all throughout your Bible. We focused on the behemoth and the Leviathan in the book of Job. We had papers where we could see the physical descriptions of them, and we know that we've not ever seen anything like that, especially the Leviathan and how it would breathe fire. So last week we did historical dragons and dinosaurs that were all throughout history. There was a lot of those. So this week I'm going to give you archaeological evidence of dinosaurs, just so you know that, what the ancients believed in dinosaurs. They drew dinosaurs. Where did that come from? So last week when we were going over the history of dinosaurs, I gave you a lot in the Middle Ages. And it wasn't like there were T-Rexes everywhere and the planet was just full of them. But when we look at God's Word and we look at history, we conclude that dinosaurs did have to be on the ark. They did populate to some degree after that, but most of them were about the size of a chicken. We didn't have a lot of those big ones roaming around, but we do know that we had them. We know they were hunted, and we're going to see a lot of that in the archaeological evidence that I'm going to give you today. So if you notice our first slide, we're going to start with that one. Now, if you go to the book of Daniel in the Bible, Daniel was about 605 BC when he was taken from his home and taken into Babylon. When he went into Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar, he was the builder. He had a lot of these ovens. He was baking brick. It was humongous, if I can say that word, construction projects at the time. He would take people from this land, bring them into Babylon, and they would just help build. All right. This is part of the gate, the Ishtar gate. When Daniel would have went into Babylon, or the slaves, or whoever you want to say, they would have come through this gate, entering into the city. Now, if you notice, these feet, they have like the three. I don't know if you can see that very good. I know it's a little bit blurry. The crest on the head, it's very snake-like head. You can see the scales and the tail. A lot of these depictions, all right, some people back in the day were good artists, just like we have today. And some were not so great. Some were okay. So you might see a little bit of distortion in there, but you can clearly see that it's some kind of creature. It's not a cat. It's not a dog. It's nothing that we recognize, right? So what I want you to keep in mind as we go through these, this is in 605 BC over in Babylon. I'm going to take you all over the globe, okay? If you have this in Babylon, there shouldn't be another one in South America that looks similar to it. You get what I'm saying? And we saw that with the historical accounts last week. We had from North American Thunderbirds, Europe, we had some down in Africa, Australia, so we're everywhere, all over the globe. So let me keep going. This right here, this is the ancient Sumatrans produced multiple pieces of art depicting long-tailed, long-necked creatures with a head crest, and it shows them hunting this creature. Again, you see the head crest. You know what? Maybe this artist wasn't so great as the first one, but can you see similar features in it? Now, I say that, and those of you who were here last week, a lot of the times when we get descriptions of dragons and dinosaurs, they're describing that crest on the head. They're describing the tail. They're describing the feet of these creatures. All right. This is a bronze artifact from the Zhou dynasty, 1122 BC to 220 BC. Notice again, it has a crest, a beak, especially the feet. These feet are very similar to the one that was in Babylon. Again, this is going to be over towards China or whatnot. We had a lot of historical accounts from China last week, if y'all remember. There's also a scale-like depiction. I don't know if you can see it. Can y'all see those little things in there? All right. Oops. All right, this is another one from the Zhou dynasty. It's an ornamental box, and the handle here on the side is like a sauropod. That's kind of like the behemoth. If you remember when we went over the behemoth in Job 40, that would be kind of what it would represent. This would be one of the big ones. All right. Here's another one. This is a jade dragon carving resembling a protoceratops. Now that picture is in there just so you can see. This is what scientists say a protoceratops looks like. And this is the jade carving, so we can see how similar that it is. That jade right there is 4,000 years old. So again, that's after the flood. All right. I'm trying to keep up with my stuff on my page. This is a dragon artifact from the Shang dynasty between BC 1766 and 1122. And this again is the scientist rendition of a Saurolophus. I guess that's how you say that. I'm not up on my dinosaur lingo here. I'm just going to tell y'all that's the southern version. But it looks similar. Do you see the little crest down the back? Now, one of the things I want you to pay attention to, we went over last week. Marco Polo, Alexander the Great, Herodotus, the Greek researcher, they all describe dragons. Cultures describe dragons, and a lot of the details that they described are not bone. Because a lot of the secular scientists will say, oh, well, they dug up those bones and they put them together and they know what they look like. But you have these little leaf-type tails, like a little finial tail, that's all cartilage. You couldn't get that if you just dug up the bones. So keep that in mind when you see these frills and stuff on the top. A lot of times that crest was not bone. All right, so that's a good detail to point out there. This one, y'all know what that is? You don't know what that is? You ever Stegosaurus? All right, in 1971, a landslide in the Girifalco region in southern Italy brought to light hundreds of ancient artifacts, a pre-Greek civilization, and with the little spikies on the back, and it has 4 on the tail. That's exactly what scientists say the Stegosaurus looks like. Here's one, another sauropod. This is from Mesopotamia. It's a cylinder seal of Uruk. All right, note the picture to the right is the artist's conception from what a skeleton of an Apatosaurus is. Again, I'm going to point to the frills on the neck. That's not bone. All right, and then you can see that. I don't know if you can see that. You see the little frills coming down the neck on that thing. This one is a good one. All right, this comes from the 2nd century. This is called the Nile Mosaic, and it depicts Nile scenes from all Egypt. This is just a little portion of it. It's really a huge mosaic, all right? So this has scenes from Egypt all the way through Ethiopia, and it's believed to be the work of Demetrius the topographer, an artist from Alexandria, Egypt. He came to work in Rome. The Ethiopians look to be hunting a dinosaur. Now, if you notice these letters, those are Greek letters. And it translates as, Crocodilopardalis. Y'all be very impressed I pronounced that right. It translates as crocodile leopard. Now, if I showed you the whole humongous thing, there's crocodiles on there. But this is different. So why would they put some known creatures on there and then just add this one? It don't make sense. And see what they're doing? Why would they have shields? To protect themselves. And it looks kind of like they're hunting this thing. So it's got crocodiles, it's got hippos, it's got a lot of those animals that you would find on the Nile. Why this one? And I told y'all last week, one of the historical accounts was from Ethiopia. Ethiopia had a large quantity of dragons. This?
Beside it looks like one.
This?
Yeah, right there.
I am not sure because they have so much stuff on there. This is just a little snapshot. I don't want to say because I can't say the whole thing. All right, these are some petroglyphs, cave drawings. This is what it looks like. Somebody outlined it just so you can see it better. And this is another one. This comes from North America. And you're like, what? We had dinosaurs here? Yeah, we did. The Anasazi Indians that lived in the area of Utah, about 150 BC to 1200 AD. The pic on the right, most believe that it is a Brontosaurus. So it's not that you can say, oh, well, it's a dragon or it's a dinosaur. Keep in mind when your Bibles were written, remember translation 1611, the word dinosaur wasn't even invented until 1841. You're not going to find it in there. This one. This is an urn from the Mississippi Caldo Indians, about 1200 AD. Now, here's my question. I've had you in Italy. I've had you in China. I've had you in North America. Now we're in Mississippi. I'm all over the place. Why would these people depict things in their art that didn't exist? And how do they match up to the things that we know today? That's the only way it would make sense. All right. The Sioux Indians tell of a monster called the Unketi. It's something like an ox, but much larger with great horns. There's one dinosaur that fits the description, and it's an Ankylosaurus. This is from Cree Indian art. Now, this right here is a drawing. It come off of a cave drawing. And what they've done is they've kind of cut out the background so you can see it a little bit better. But, hey, if I was drawing this thing, what's it going to look like if I put it on a cave wall? You're going to get certain details, and certain details you're not going to get. Have you ever noticed, like in some of the old petroglyphs, you've got stick figures? And then some look a little bit more detailed. It's just like I said, we have good artists and not so good artists.
First two, like stick figure faces.
Yeah.
That's what I would draw.
But you see, there's two of them. Why would they draw two of them? Just saying. All right, here's another one. This one's actually found in the Grand Canyon. Yeah. Its height was 11.2 inches with a neck of approximately 5.1 inches and a tail of 9.1 inches. It's believed to be a pic of a dinosaur. In the middle is an Edmontosaurus. Okay, now I want you to think about this. If that's the dinosaur, how big's that snake? I mean, I'm having detail scale issues here. Is there really a snake that big? You've seen some of those like down in where it gets hot? Yeah. Down in South America, those humongous ones that can eat it.
They reach like 18, 19 feet.
Could you imagine if we had those here? We'd have people moving. Here's another one. This is the artist rendition. So this is the whole cave wall. You see this the little one here? They've kind of bloated up for you to see, and that's the artist rendition. Okay, so this one is a rock found high in the Colorado Rockies. This one rock weighed 66 pounds. The stone was made of an exceedingly hard green material like nothing known in the neighborhood. One side is a carved man. Can y'all see the man's face? He looks like a little grumpy man, don't he? And one side is like symbols, and on the back is a mastodon and two dinosaurs. Now keep in mind, they can tell what this is, and I don't know if you can see it really good, but this looks like a sauropod right here, and then there's two more dinosaurs to the side. All right. It's a little bit easier to see on my tablet, I guess, because it's a little bit smaller. All right, this one is a cave painting in the Goramazimo Hills, 25 miles from Salisbury. Paintings include a Brontosaurus. Bushmen who did the painting ruled Rhodesia from only 1500 BC until a couple hundred years ago. So they can't pinpoint an exact, they're just giving you in that time frame. But you can clearly see at least two different kinds. This one's a little bit different than this one. I don't know what that thing is in the up top. All right, what about this one? The African tribe from the Mali region produced this bronze artifact of a Dogon tribesman riding a reptile looking like a dinosaur. Some scientists believe that it's a duck-billed arthropod. You think they could ride some of them?
I didn't know that was a man on top. It looks kind of weird.
Yeah. Good artist and bad artist, Jen.
Maybe his arms got broke off.
I'm thinking his arms are like this.
Yeah.
He's like this. He's like, I'm not gonna move.
What about this one? There's a lot of detail. These are ceremonial burial stones from Nazca. We're down in South America. Y'all heard of the Nazca lines? Those huge things that you can't see unless you get like up in a plane and you look down on them. In the 1500s, Spanish conquistadors brought back stories that there were stones with strange creatures on them in the region of Peru. Some brought them back to Spain. Now, these are some of the ones that were brought back to Spain. There's actually still some down there, and I think if I read right, I'm trying to go on memory here, that Spain kept these rocks and they had to return some of them. But if you notice, it's eating a man. That one is. And this one we can clearly see, you know, the triceratops with the frills and everything. Okay, this is another one. This is pottery from Lima that dates back to 200 to 700 AD. Again, I mean, you can't really argue with a lot of the details, especially the ridges. Yeah, down the side. And I don't know if y'all can see this. Can y'all see the nose on this? It's got two little nares right there. Now, if I dug up bones, would I know exactly how that nose?
You wouldn't know where they were.
No.
You just have
No.
that bone structure.
All right, okay, this is some tapestries from Lima. These are from the same time period. Do you get what these are on their art? They're on their like bowls and their urns. They're in their tapestries. Again, why are they putting these creatures on everything? Okay, so this one's interesting. This is fossilized skin. Fossilized skin of a dinosaur. You know, we kind of think we have an idea of what dinosaur skin looks like. All right, if we dug up the bones, could we know what that even is? No. But yet in some of the ones that I've showed you, they have these little details of what the skin looked like. That's why I put this on here. Okay, here's another one. Clay figures found buried at the foot of El Toro Mountain on the outskirts of Encambrio, Mexico. These are identified as between 800 BC and 200 AD. Interesting, right? There's a lot of these Stegosaurus ones down in South America. Here's another one. Same time period.
It's crazy. Those are pretty recent, and we think dinosaurs are millions of years
Right?
old, and they're not.
Right? And that's why it's important.
You kids are taught that at school.
Yeah, but why not give them this information?
Right.
Because if you give me this information, plus the historical information I gave you last week, plus the biblical information, you put it all together, can you deny that these creatures existed?
No, they exist. It's just not millions of years.
Right? An artifact from, I don't even know how to say this, Tiwanaku. It's a pre-Columbian sculpture of a dinosaur. It's at least 800 years old before Europeans discovered dinosaurs, supposedly. Again, there's a lot of little details in here. How it's shaped and everything. Here's another one. This one's not as great. I think my picture cut off. It looks damaged, even somewhat, kind of like a little sauropod. It's from the same area as the other one. This one's a neat one. If you pay attention, this is a pictograph from the Amazon rainforest. All right, hot climate. Keep in mind, dinosaurs thrived in a hot climate. These, can you see the spears and the shields in their hands? And here in the middle is like a sauropod. It's very faint, but you can see it. But look how it's like a hunting party. They're surrounded all the way around it. Why would they draw them hunting something that don't exist? Just making you think. This one's a good artist. All right. Deep in the jungles of Cambodia, there are temples and palaces from the Khmer civilization. One temple, Ta Prohm, depicts monkeys, parrots, deer, water buffalo, and just out of the blue, a stegosaurus. It would be in a panel. I don't know if you can see those. But the stegosaurus is in this one, but they have all different kinds. Why would they put a creature in there that doesn't exist? It doesn't make sense. Okay, this one. A medieval depiction seen in Palau de la Generalitat in Barcelona, Spain. It illustrates St. George's slaying the dragon. So last week I told y'all in the history about St. George slaying the dragon. It's kind of like a big story over in Europe. There's a lot of historical information on that, but this is the depiction of it. And you'll find that in several different places over in Europe. But again, it's detailed, and they can actually match this up and say, hey, we know what that is today, and it's a Nothosaurus. So again, if this is depicted the way that it is, and we can match it up to what we found today, that's pretty amazing. Okay, so this one is a French chateau of the Middle Ages. Now this same creature, I want you to notice the little claws down here. The detail of the skin. What do you think that is coming out of its mouth? Yeah? Flares, fire? And it even kind of looks like these might be flames too. Well, last week when I was describing the historical accounts, I told y'all of several where it describes fire breathing. And we even have that within God's word, fire breathing dragons. Here's another one. Do you see how similar that looks? That one. That one. All right. What about that one? They're all very, very similar. And that's what they believe it is. Plateosaurus.
What's with the crown at the top?
It's on a chateau. So I don't know if this might have been a seal. You know, like some, you know how they did seals, like family seals or whatever. It's
Didn't they worship them too, or something?
the Chinese did. I know the Chinese did. I don't know that Europe worship dragons. But if you're going to do a crest,
That's what I was gonna say.
You want the biggest- the biggest animal, baddest animal. That's why we have lions and stuff in crest. So I'm just giving you a possibility. I don't know for sure.
Makes sense.
Okay, this one is called Dracorix Hogwartsia. Not Hogwarts, y'all. And no, it sounds like Harry Potter. Okay, this is the mama. You see the mama? That's a lot of detail, right? But look at the baby. It's got a little baby over there. All right. This one, the tomb of Bishop of Carlisle, Richard Bell, in 1496. His tomb is inlaid with brass, along with birds, dogs, and an eel. There are 2 dinosaurs. They're kind of meeting like this. Their heads come together right there. This one is an Egyptian seal that depicts a large pterosaur. There are a lot of accounts of pterosaurs when you get down towards Egypt. But here's the wings. I don't know if y'all can see that. I don't want to put my hand up there. Well, even in North America, there are a lot with the thunderbird pterosaurs. Yes, yeah. All right, this one is flying serpents from the ceiling of San Miniato al Monte. So horrible. Yeah, no, not happening. In Florence, Italy. This is built in the 11th century. Again, the feet look the same. There's a lot of them that we've seen. This right here is a drawing from the 17th century. Do you notice something flying away?
Mm-hmm.
Does that look like a bird?
I know where Grove was.
You bright? Not like a bunch of pterodactyls.
I just kind of wonder, and this is just me wondering, why this looks like it's on fire and they're flying away.
Maybe they set it on fire. They're the mouth breed.
No, just
That's what I'm saying.
wondering. All right, this is a dragon that was said to live in the wetlands near Rome in December of 1691. The creature lived in a cave and was said to terrorize the local people. A sketch of the skeleton has survived in the possession of Ingenierio Meyer. Now, I told y'all about this one last week, and I told you I'd have a picture of it this week. So this is what it looked like with skin on. This is what it looked like with skin off. It matches a Scaphognathus. Not familiar with that one. But I think it's amazing that they can tell what it is. All right, this is an urn from Caria in Turkey, estimated from 530 BC, and it depicts a Monosaurus. I meant to bring my teeth. I have Monosaurus teeth. I was going to let y'all see them, and I forgot. But do you see what's around it? What are those?
Fish.
What's that?
Penguin.
A seal. That's a seal. But you can recognize these things. Why would they put that one there?
Is the teeth big?
They're about this big.
Megalodon?
No, they're about this big.
Pretty big.
Megalodon. Some of them was like this big. I don't want to be bit by neither one of them. All right, this is a plesiosaur depiction. Again, you can see the detail. You can tell what these are. All right. This one, in 1639, a sea serpent was observed off Cape Ann, Massachusetts. This is the rendering of what they saw.
It's skinny in the water, isn't it?
Do what now? Is there really? I can't say yes or no. I know there's like a lot of lore around the Loch Ness Monster. Could it?
Probably hangs out with Sasquatch.
Yeah.
They're probably buddies.
If there are dinosaurs like that, like the plesiosaur in Loch Ness, I think they're very rare.
Didn't one wash up on a beach?
I'm coming with it.
Okay.
I'm coming with it.
That's in our day, too.
Yeah, this one,
We're not old.
I'm fixing to show it to you. So this one is a Roman mosaic from 200 AD. And you see the two, and their necks are entwined. I wonder if that's how they fought.
I was gonna say,
That's
what
how,
I said last week, they couldn't really,
Yeah.
getting really fight very
Yeah.
well.
that's how
Just saying.
giraffes fight.
Yes.
Well, I was going to say with their necks, or their tails. I'm sure they use their tails, too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Well, we were talking about the T-Rexes. It would make sense if they would sling around because their power would be in that tail.
Elephant same way with their trunk.
You got to demobilize and then you got to bite. All right. Below, right here, is an artist rendition of a Tanistrophaeus. I'm horrible at reading names. Y'all, if I pronounce something wrong, it's because I didn't hear it. I read it. So don't fuss at me. Okay, this one. The tribesmen down in Australia, Queensland, Australia, they get together and they start describing the histories that's been passed down. They do a lot of oral histories in their Aborigines down there. And as someone listened, they pieced together this from all of the stories of how they hunted the plesiosaur. But they knew they hunted them and how they butchered them.
Do they eat them?
They did. All right, this one's from 1925. Okay, let me give you a little bit. This thing had a 20-foot long neck. It washed off on the beach. Now, look at the head. Does that look like anything we've ever seen in the ocean even? No. But if you notice, I'm going to try to point it out. The head's right here. The neck is like all the way down through here. And then there's the body. So that's 1925.
What beach is it?
I'm trying to think. You just had to ask me that, didn't you?
Is that what you were talking about?
I don't have my book in here. I have this in my book. Yeah, yeah. Is it? I'm trying to. Is it Moore Beach? Moore Beach. I'm gonna have to look it up and get it back to you.
As long as it's not folly.
All right, this one. This one is from 1997.
Really, Janet?
Yep.
Little with those spikes, really?
This one's from San Antonio, Texas. It was found in a cave. Now, listen, I put this up here because if I saw that, I'm like, what in the world's this? It ain't no lizard like I've ever seen. I don't know if it's a dragon or a dinosaur or what, but I put this up here because I've never seen nothing like it. But a farmer had went into a cave and killed that thing. Still don't know what it is, but I'm just giving that to you.
Well, it's a far cry from a scorpion. Like that. I mean, just saying.
Okay, this one. Fighting dinosaurs found in the Mongolia Gobi Desert. This is a velociraptor wrapped around a protoceratops. It's hard to see it,
Wow.
but what I put this in here for you to see is, do you see how they're still in the fighting pose? All right, even, okay, let's just say me and Jana were fighting and we're in the middle of something. What's going to cause us to freeze this way? It's going to have to be something instant, like mud, like a big mud bog or something to have us freeze. Lots of the times when they're digging up these fossils, they're in a flood layer. They're all mostly in the same flood layer. Now you do have other instances of like bogs. We have one in South Carolina. Is it the Ashley? It's Ashley Mud something, or I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a big mud field, and there's like a lot of fossils that have been preserved. Or it could be like a peat bog or something like that would preserve these, locally, like if there was a local flood or something. But a lot of times you find them in the worldwide flood layer. We're going to go over that when we get to the flood. Okay, this one's interesting. So this one is from 1977 off the coast of New Zealand. Now, the thing I need to point out is if you look this up, you're going to hear or read that this was a basking shark. But I'm going to tell you, I've had people tell me, no, it was a basking shark. It's been proven. But there's one thing that they cannot argue. These fins right here, there's 2 on the front and 2 on the back. Okay?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That looks like the fins of this.
And even on the head, there's 2 nares. They could still see 2 nares. Well, on
This
the...
was in 2018 on the Georgia shore.
Well, it looks like he's eating an
You
egg.
see those little flipper
Yeah.
looking things? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, can we really say that they're extinct? I don't think we can. I'm not going to say definitely no way or another. But so this fishing boat, it was a Japanese fishing boat, and there was an engineer on board. And they would have kept it, but it was already rotting. They didn't want to throw it in with their fish and ruin their fish, so they threw it back overboard, okay? But the engineer on board drew it up. He drew it up. Let me show you this. See, you can clearly see that is the flipper things, but there's 4 of them. This is the drawing that the
there you go.
engineer drew up, and you can clearly see that is not a basking shark at all. It's not. All right, and this one, this is on San Helen Island. It's near Japan. The Russians discovered this in 2006. It was a 1/4 ton. It had a beak, and it was covered in like this furry substance.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that
Furry in the sense of like
in the water.
No, that's what I was gonna say.
I don't know. Don't know. All right, let me give you this. Tyrannosaurus rex thigh bone. That thigh bone had soft tissue inside of it, including the delicate blood vessels that appeared to be with red blood cells. Okay, so if dinosaurs died out 250 million years ago,
Why would it still be in?
how is that possible?
Soft tissue.
And you take this evidence along with everything we went over for the past 3 weeks. I mean, I'm using critical thinking here. You know, I was the one that came up in public education. We were taught evolution and everything like that. But when you give me this evidence, I can't go by that.
I mean, it could have been frozen because, like, sometimes stuff can, like, live animals could be frozen when they, like, thaw out. They're, like, still alive.
It could, but this one, where it was found, it was not.
In a hot area.
Right. It was not in ice. Not in ice. This is the red blood cells that are still intact from a femur of a duck-billed dinosaur. So the first one was a T-Rex. This is another one. This dinosaur is supposedly 80 million years old. Again, carbon dating's wrong in itself. We've already went over, like, if we go out and we were to get a snail, we were to carbon date a living snail, it's going to come back as like 30s, I don't know how many thousands of years old, and it's still alive. If one thing is flawed, can you trust everything else by that same method? You can't. This is the woman who did a lot of the research, and she did this in 2005. This is a lot of her findings, and if you can see, this is in Montana. This is the Hell Creek Formation. Look, this guy's got on sleeveless shirt and shorts. When it's found, it's not cold. It's warm. So again, I would ask, millions of years,
Well, it
really?
totally disproves the drawings of the huntings and, I mean, all of the things washing up on shore and finding them in
Yeah.
the water. It just shows that dinosaurs did not exist before people ever existed.
And even today, you hear it's in the field of what they call cryptozoology. That's kind of like where Bigfoot would fit in and things like that. And some people think that there are still dinosaurs in the deep jungles of Cambodia or, you know, in these places where people don't really go. Is it possible?
People can't survive there, which is how would you know? At the end of
Right.
the day?
I would say it would be possible, but highly unlikely. Because honestly, if you did have something big, at least, and I'm talking like Stegosaurus or, you know, Bronchosaurus.
The size of the chickens, like you were talking about.
Right. It would have to be something small. I believe if it was something big, somebody's going to come in and kill it just for trophy. You know, I killed the last dragon. That's how it would be. And then you have to go back to cultural too. You know, we went over the Chinese a little bit last week. The Chinese revered dragons. They prized their eggs. They kept them in caves. You know, medicine and things like that. Their astrological system and calendar, they are all known animals. Why would you stick one in there that's not real? And again, when we go over evidences like this, just because of what y'all are like taught in school, because you're taught millions of years and you're taught evolution, I would say present the kids in school with this evidence and let them use critical thinking. Don't just tell them that evolution happened here or this, because this is a lot of evidence that proves God's word to be true. I didn't have this when I was in school. I didn't know this when I was in school. We just didn't have it. I think it would have made a huge difference, you know, if we could get information like this, but it's suppressed. Very much so. And we're going to go over this in a little bit more detail, but the belief in millions of years is a fairly new idea that did not come about until like the 1700s. It was from two guys, Lyle and Hutton, and they were studying the layers of the earth, and they're like, oh, this takes so long. it's got to be millions of years. And then it just exploded. And then you got Charles Darwin reading their stuff, and he comes along with the theory of evolution, and man just puts that together, and they say, oh, well, we don't need a God. Creation didn't exist. This sounds better. And all of it's a theory. And for the past 3 Sundays, we have this kind of evidence. I'm sure a lot of y'all have never heard this before. You've never seen this before.
It all makes sense when you talk about like global warming and everything's cyclical. And talking about the things that washed up on the shores I mentioned last week, all the natural erosion that happens, and then you have man-made renourishment that happens where they go in and they're refilling, quite literally, sand from all these layers. I mean, they're pumping that. I mean, if you look into what they do to renourish these seashores, they are digging so deep into the earth. It's bound to happen that these things are going to become more evident in just natural discovery of people out on the ocean shore. Right. And these things are going to continue, in my opinion, to be proven time and time again. They're going to have to go back and rethink this piggyback of theory like you're talking, because it's getting harder to accept that.
Yeah.
When you look back at weather patterns, you look back at natural erosion, all that kind of thing. All this makes a lot more sense than what you guys hear in a classroom. Am I right? Or no? I'm just looking at
Well, even too, when we get to the flood, there's some slides that I'm going to show you there where scientists will say that dinosaurs and man never lived together. I mean, we've already proved that's got to be false. But when you have footprints of dinosaurs and man right beside it, how can you argue with that? They had to be done at the same time. It had to still be like wet sand, I guess, back when they were made. Mm-hmm. So how can you argue? They didn't ring the bell again? All right. Turn me off.
But seeing something like that makes me want to do like Jurassic Park right there, don't you?